Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, everybody. How we doing out there? How we doing? How we doing? Good. Okay. All right. Sorry for the late start. Traffic is kind of bad. Yeah, you're here now. So we're going to go continue our Split Kingdom series, followed by. Well, first we're going to start with the Ten Commandments, then we're going to follow up with the Split Kingdom series. All right. All right. So first the Ten Commandments. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. How y'all doing?
All right.
How we doing? Right on time. All right. So we're gonna go off to the Ten Commandments first. All right. So you shall have no other gods before me. All right. No other gods before me. What's considered another god? What?
Fame,
Fame. Okay. What else?
tablet, and a phone.
Those can be other gods. Yes. What you got, Dequan?
Clothes.
Clothes. Right. Those are definitely some examples of other gods. All right. You shall not make for yourself an idol. Now, of course, we know this is talking about like idolatry. Both of these is talking about idolatry, but what's the difference between this one and this one? What is this actually talking about? You shall not make for yourself an idol.
An idol is considered you're putting something in front of the Most High.
Well, yeah, that's an idol. But see, in here, and like I said, this is all, I use this for the pictures, but this is not necessarily the best translation. But it says in the Bible, as a matter of fact, I'll read it for you. Exodus 20. Exodus 20 and verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the Shamayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. All right, so that means you can't even make a fish and bow down to it, right? And then look what it's going to say. Verse 5, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
I know I saw this in the movie. I know we usually don't talk about movies, but when this guy came and got his new car, a guy came out of a store and was bound.
Say that again.
When this guy got a new car, a guy came out of the store and bowed to him.
And bowed to his car? Oh, yeah, that's definitely like a form of idolatry. Yeah, yeah. And that would definitely, like this one, that definitely is idolatry, number one. And you shall not have any other gods before you. So that would definitely fall in the lines of this. And then seeing as how it's something that's physically made, yeah. So that definitely falls in the lines of idolatry. Wow. But people like, the reason he did that is probably because it's something that he couldn't actually afford. It's something that's valued in society. So you'll see people ignorantly do that. And they'll see something that's really nice, like a nice sports car that may be valued for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they'll bow to it as if that's supposed to mean something, right? And they do that in error, and that's definitely idolatry. You should not misuse the name of Yahuwah Elohim. All right, you should not misuse. How can we misuse the Most High's name? How?
By not upholding the vows.
A vow that you make in His name, right? That's one way. How else can we misuse the Most High's name?
By swearing.
By swearing. But how? Like, if you swear that what?
If you say, I swear I'm going to do this, and you actually do it.
You actually don't do it. Or if you
actually don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. So
that's
see.
considered misusing.
Right. And then if you if you try, oh, go ahead. Let's see if you got it.
Or if you swear that you didn't do something, but you actually did it.
Yeah. Right. So because you would be lying and defiling the Most High's name, right? Like when Peter swore that he didn't know Mashiach, but he did know. That's that situation right there. He swore, he made an oath that he did not know the Messiah when the Messiah was about to get crucified. That will be the perfect example of that. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Remember the Sabbath day. How can we keep the Sabbath day holy?
Read the Bible.
Right, what else?
Going to class all the time.
Say that again.
Going to class every Saturday.
Every Sabbath, yeah. Go ahead.
Watching spiritual stuff.
Watching spiritual stuff, right? You can rest, pray, watch spiritual stuff, go congregate.
Don't
Yeah,
work.
that's how we can remember. Say that again.
Don't work.
Okay. Say that again.
Don't work.
Don't work. Not work. Yeah. Yeah. Pay a rest. Remember honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. Now, while we're not in the land, but this still applies to honor our father and mother. How can we honor our father and mother?
By not dishonoring by their name.
Think about that. I'm gonna come back to you.
By doing what they say.
By doing what they say.
By listening and not talking back.
Yeah, that. Now you got what I want you to repeat what you said. You own to something, but you didn't really bring it out. How can we honor our father and mother? What answer did you give?
I gave an answer by don't dishonor them by their name.
Okay, I think I know where you're trying to go. So when you want to keep them with a good name, So say if you have a falling out with your parents, that doesn't give you the right to go and dishonor their name by talking bad about them amongst your friends, right? So you want to keep them with a good name.
Right.
That's how you do that. Keep them with a good name, right? You shall not murder. You shall not murder.
Murder is when you kill somebody for no reason, but self-defense is killing somebody for no reason, but you're trying to defend yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? Let's keep it moving. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not commit adultery.
Adultery for a man
Yep, is what?
is divorcing his wife for no reason, and then going with, and then seeing another woman when he divorced his first wife for no reason.
Yeah, and getting another wife. Yep. What about for the woman? He now had his hand up first.
If a woman steps out her marriage and deals with a married man, that's considered adultery.
She don't have to be married. He don't have to be married. But that is adultery. But he don't have to be married. That's the part I want to correct. If she's married and she goes and steps out her marriage, that is adultery. Yeah, of course, it is adultery if it's with a married man, yeah. But he don't have to be married in that case for it to be adultery, right? That's still adultery though. But like if she's married and goes to be with a single man, a man that's not married, but she's married, then that's considered adultery, right? You should not steal.
So if a man just goes and marries another girl or woman or whatever, that's not considered adultery. But like he has like if he had a girlfriend and a wife instead of two wives, is that considered adultery?
No, it's considered fornication. That's considered fornication. Yeah. Because a man was definitely allowed to have more than one wife. So if he was to take on another woman as his wife, then that would be lawful if he was to take on another woman as his wife. But what he's doing is fornication. Like he's not trying to make her, what you just described as fornication. It's not adultery because she might not belong to somebody else. So it's not adultery. Adultery would have to be him going to deal with somebody else's wife in regards to the man, right? But that would be like fornication. He should marry her.
Like
Yeah.
So if it was somebody else's wife.
Say that again.
So if the
If it was somebody else's wife,
Yeah.
that's adultery. That's adultery. So if a man, he could be married, but he decides to go and deal with somebody else's wife, that's adultery because she belongs to somebody else. Yeah. You should not steal. Somebody had their hand up. Yeah. Hold on.
I'm not taking nothing that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah. Yeah. What if she was poor? Would it be okay?
No.
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 She should just asked.
Could have just asked. Right? Go ahead.
They stole my answer.
Oh, was that? Don't worry about it. If that was your answer, don't worry about it. If you, yeah. So yeah, she should have just asked, and even if she was poor, she should have asked, right? Sometimes people steal because of their fear of rejection. So in this case right here, we don't know whether she's poor or not, but many times somebody may steal because nobody's giving them what they need. So, or they're afraid to ask. So they'll go and steal instead of asking. All right, so we got to make sure, even though this might not be the case here, but we got to understand that so that we, in case, most high forbid, we fall into a bad financial situation with our money and we may need somebody's help, we don't be afraid to ask, right? So, because we don't want to end up breaking Yah's laws. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor.
Lying on somebody.
Lying on somebody, right? Go ahead.
Lying on your neighbor, but your neighbor is like family. So basically you're lying on your family and you actually did.
Nice. So the word neighbor is in reference to family of different sorts. You know what I mean? It can even be, in the situation with King David, he was told because of his adultery with Bathsheba that his neighbor would sleep with his wives. And so what happened was his son ended up being the one sleeping with his wives, which is like incest, but because of David's sin, the Most High made it to where that would happen.
How many wives did David have?
I'll have to look into that. I don't remember. I've heard different numbers. I don't know. I have to look into that. I don't remember offhand how many he had, but he definitely had multiple wives. I don't remember offhand how many he had. I'll get that answer for you, but I don't remember offhand how many he had. Yeah. So that's, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor, and last but not least, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor.
So if your neighbor has something, if your family has something,
Yeah.
if your family has something that you have, but is better and better looking than yours,
Mm-hmm.
you would try to kill them or steal just because you want to upgrade what you have.
Right. That's the after effect of what coveting is. Well, what does covet mean?
Killing somebody,
No.
killing your neighbor.
No. What does covet mean?
Lusting after someone's possessions.
Right. It means to lust after somebody's possession. Now, you own to something because it does lead to that. It can lead to murder. It can lead to stealing. You know what I mean? Like in the situation right here, you start to lust after their possessions. Well, how are you not? What is she going to do now that she is in love with somebody else's possession? She's going to go maybe try to steal this car. Maybe somehow try to break into their house. Nice house must mean nice things inside of it, right? So she might want to do that. Might want to break other commandments in order to, take away their wealth. So Yeah, that's what coveting is about. You shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. And we know the word neighbor is in reference to family, so it's more closely related when we read it out the Bible. I'm going to read it real quick. Let's see, this is Exodus 20 and verse 17. It says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Right? Anything that belongs to your neighbor we cannot covet or lust after. So the Most High is telling us to check our hearts. All right, we got to make sure we have our heart, and we'll get tempted. You can get tempted to do something, but you don't have to act on that temptation. Like if you like somebody else's stuff, that's not sinning. If you like somebody's possession, you know, you may acknowledge it. Oh, I like that, but it's when you start to figure out how can I take this from him. That's where you cross over into coveting, all right, and lusting after somebody's possessions. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go into today's lesson. We have some things we have to do after. So I'm not going to go into the books of the Bible today because I got here kind of late, unfortunately. So we're going to go into today's lesson. All right. We're talking the kingdom series, the split kingdom series, right? So we're going to go open up to 1 Kings. We're going to talk about Rehoboam. Anybody need a Bible? Y'all good? She got her phone. You need a Bible? Daquan, or you can share with another. 1 Kings chapter 12.
Got it?
Okay.
Got it.
All right, so 1 Kings chapter 12. You need some help?
I got it.
Okay. I'll wait for you.
You said chapter 12?
Yes. Chapter 12 and
Got
verse
it.
1.
Got it.
We're talking about the split kingdom. So do y'all remember why the kingdom was split?
Because of Saul's sin.
Who sinned?
Saul.
No.
Solomon?
Solomon.
I was about to say it.
You ain't say it though, brother.
Oh.
All right. No, but Solomon sinned. Good job. Yeah, it was Solomon. Solomon sinned. How did he sin?
By.
Say it again. No. He had wives. He had 1,000 women he dealt with. 700 wives and princesses and 300 concubines.
I thought that was Saul. I thought Saul had 700.
Nope.
Dang.
Saul did not have that many wives. He did sin, but he didn't. That wasn't the reason the kingdom was split. All right. So Solomon had 1,000 women he dealt with, 700 wives and princesses, and 300 concubines. Now that part wasn't necessarily the sin. Yes, it was. Actually, that part was part of the sin. All right, that was part of it, but that wasn't what caused the split either. So with these 700 wives and princesses and 300 concubines, what did they cause Solomon to do?
To commit adultery.
What type of adultery?
Adultery for a man.
No.
Women.
No. Spiritual adultery, which is idolatry.
Oh.
Remember this right here? Because the women was worshiping other gods. They was breaking these. He broke these commandments. Say that again. To the point where he turned away. See, he didn't just question it. They even questioned his faith. He turned away from the Most High. Let me read it real quick, and then we'll get off into Rehoboam. We're just doing a recap. I'm gonna read 1 Kings 11 and verse 1. 1 Kings 11 and 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women. The reason they strange is because they was from other nations. Okay. Together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yahuwah said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go in unto them. Right, so this is how he sinned.
Which place are we in?
We in 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 2. Ye shall not go in unto them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, meaning they was not the wives he had. Those 700 wives and princesses and 300 concubines was not worshiping the Most High, right? They was believing on other gods. And Solomon, because he followed after he had these many women that was worshiping other gods, they lured him into following theirs, right? But one thing that the Most High said was this. Y'all stay where y'all at. I'm going to go here and read this here. So this is Deuteronomy 17. Let me see something. Deuteronomy 17 and 17. All right, so it says, verse 17, neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. So Solomon multiplied wives. Remember, he had 1,000 wives. I mean, he had 700 wives and princesses and 300 concubines. He wasn't supposed to do that. He sinned by doing that. Right? So that's where he broke Yah's laws. Now let's go into Rehoboam. So the reason the kingdom is split because of Solomon's ignorance. And the wives he had caused him to turn away his heart from the Most High. So let's start up at 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 1. Hold on, let me do something. So Rehoboam, and this is 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. So the kingdom is not split at this time. The kingdom is all unified, right? But something is going to happen. Let's see, verse 2. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt, that they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came, and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, your father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of your father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. So he made the yoke grievous, meaning that they was paying tax, and they were serving a hard servitude to Solomon, right? Verse 5, and he said unto them, depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I may answer this people? So the elders that was working for Solomon, he consulted with them first. He talked to them first about how he should go forth. Hey, and how he should go forth, right? And deal with the people of the northern part of the kingdom. So let's see. Verse 7. And they spake unto him, saying, now this is the elders, the elder men. And they spake unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them and answer them and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him. So he didn't take this counsel. See, he could have listened to them and allowed the kingdom to still be together, right? Even though Yah had already prophesied that the kingdom will be split because of Solomon's ignorance. Rehoboam is the one that made the bad decision of not taking the counsel and not listening and accepting these men from the northern part of the kingdom as his servants. Okay? Verse 9, and he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, so now he's going to listen to the young men and get counsel from them. Thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. All right, so what that means is he's going to make their servitude more grievous, more difficult, more harder to bear. Right, so that's why he's saying that his pinky finger should be thicker than his father's loins. Just like a parable of basically saying that, hey, I'm going to make things much more difficult for you than my father did. All right, y'all understand that? Okay. Verse 11. And now, whereas my father did lay you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day. So now they're about to actually hear him say this. The young men that gave Rehoboam counsel, Rehoboam is going to repeat this to the people. Remember, they had to depart for 3 days while he counseled the old men and the young men. Rehoboam decided to forsake the counsel of the older men, which wanted the northern kingdom, the whole kingdom, to be unified. And he told them to, and the young men instead, he accepted their counsel. He's about to deliver this counsel to them, this decision. Verse 12, so Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from Yahuwah, that he might perform his saying, which Yahuwah spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel, thou see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents, meaning they went back into the north. They decided not to be a part of the southern kingdom of Israel. Right? Let's see what happened. Verse 17. But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. So there were children of Israel, there were northern kingdom Israelites that stayed in the cities of Judah. All right, so it wasn't fully divided, but it was a remnant of them that stayed and dealt with the southern kingdom. But for the most part, the northern kingdom split. Right? So let's see. But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him with stones that he died. Therefore King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. They rebelled against the house of David until this day because of that decision. When it could have been unified, ignorantly, Rehoboam listened to the young men's counsel. All right? Verse 20. And it came to pass when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over Israel, over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only. The tribe of Judah only followed the house of David. All right, and then you ended up having the tribe of Benjamin that added this up. So it was two tribes that followed that was a part of the southern kingdom. Right? So Jeroboam was chosen during Solomon's time because of Solomon's sin. So the king, any of y'all, now what are some of the tribes that followed Jeroboam? Nope.
Rehoboam?
No, we talking about some of the tribes that followed Jeroboam, not Rehoboam. Rehoboam was the king of the southern kingdom. Jeroboam was the king of the northern kingdom. Who followed Jeroboam?
Israel?
Yeah, but who makes those tribes up? What tribes are they?
Judah and Ephraim?
Nope. Let me show you. So you got the tribe of Dan, the tribe of Asher, the tribe of Gad. You got the tribe of Reuben. You got the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Ephraim. Right? Remember it was 10. It was I'm trying to name them off top. So you got the tribe of Reuben, Manasseh, Ephraim. You got like I say, Judah and Benjamin was in the south. Oh man, I'm trying to think of all of them. I'm gonna get them too. Like I said Gad, Reuben, Manasseh, Ephraim. You have Dan. You have so you have the Levites was not officially a tribe, so that you have to leave them out. Like those were the priests of those were the priests. They wasn't given an inheritance. So and actually we'll read later how the Levites moved to the south after they was kicked out from being the priests. So the Levites, they was a tribe, yes, but they was not one of the tribes that received an inheritance. They didn't have a country that they lived in. What they did was they lived in the suburbs around the northern and southern kingdom because they did the priesthood. So they lived on the outskirts of all the country. So like if you had like also another one is Naphtali. You had, like I say, Levi, which didn't have an inheritance, and I named Asher. So they didn't necessarily have an inheritance. Levi they was the priests living on the outskirts of the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So you had Naphtali, you have Dan, Gad, you had Ephraim, Manasseh, you had Ephraim, Manasseh, Dan, Gad, you had like Levi, like I say, he lived on the outskirts. You had Judah and Benjamin in the south. This is when the kingdom is split. And who I'm gonna read it because I'm like trying to think of all of them out of the. Let me see something. Genesis 49 gives a rundown of the 12 tribes, by the way. You have Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh. Yeah, Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad. You have Asher, Naphtali. You had Levi, but they wasn't a tribe. You had, you can't mention, now Joseph is mentioned in Genesis 49, but Joseph is not actually a tribe because his sons was chosen, which is Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay, Joseph was, Jacob had actually adopted Ephraim and Manasseh's Joseph's two children, which was Ephraim and Manasseh. All right, Jacob had adopted Joseph's children. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, that was the other one. Issachar as well. So those were the 12 tribes. So let me see if I can run through them again without messing up. Let's see. Gad, Dan, Naphtali. You had Issachar. You had Ephraim, Manasseh. You had Zebulun. You had Simeon. You had Reuben, and like I said, Levi was not considered one of the tribes, but he was dwelling in the north. Now later on, they end up moving to the south. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So those will be the southern two tribes again was Judah and Benjamin. All right, Judah and Benjamin. So those who was dwelling, but you also had some dwelling. Like I read, you had some dwelling in the south that never moved to the north. Rehoboam had ruled over some of the northern kingdom. They never moved to the north after the split. All right. So we got our three. We're gonna wrap it up. We got our 3 hallelujahs. Somebody want to count? Yeah, that's a good point. No. Oh yeah, that's fine. Y'all can both count.
1, 2, 3. Hallelujah!
All right. Let's get a couple more.
1, 2, 3. Hallelujah!
Let's get a better one. Come on. Let's make the last one count.
1, 2, 3.
Good job. I know it's just a few of us in here. Shabbat shalom. We're going to end the children's lesson for right now. Until next week, we will be having praise and worship, followed by today's main lesson. Shalom.